We're here with Fontella Sweet. We'd like to interview her, ask her some questions about her life. So we have some memories on tape. Mom, why don't you tell us full name, social, just kidding, not your social. Your name, where you were born, kind of a little bit about your childhood.
Fontella Jackson Sweet, and I was born in Lyman, Wayne County, Utah. I lived down there till I was about 5 years old, and then we moved to Payson, and I grew up in Payson, went to the Payson schools, and did most of my teenage and younger ages growing there. There's 6 girls, and we each have a brother. Lois is the second girl, and then Belva, and then Fred, and then Marie, and Marie's 5 years older than I am, and then myself, and then Enid is a couple of years younger than me. When it was hay season, we had to haul hay, and they would put ropes across the bottom of the hay rack, and then they would put, by a pitchfork, they would put piles of hay up on top. And then when it got to be high enough, then they would take it to the yard and roll it off by pulling the ropes off. It would roll the hay off there. But one time we were hauling hay, and Enid and I would have to tromp, because we'd get up on top and tromp it down, and we would have the others throw it up on there. And one time we had quite a bit of hay on there, and Marie very thoughtfully threw up a load of hay, and there was a snake underneath the hay, and we seen that snake, and we wanted to get off quick. And Enid did. She got off, and I was going to get off, and they said, no, you have to stay up there and tromp the hay. I hate snakes to this day.
What was your experiences like being a teenager in Payson?
Well, I was involved in 4-H, and we did that all summer long, and we had different people come to teach us to sew and to do those things. Of course, I was involved in Young Women's, and we had our camping excursions, and we had different things. We had watermelon busts, and we'd have fun with that. And I had friends that I would go visit. After church, Mother would make tuna fish sandwiches or bologna sandwiches, and we'd make a jug of Kool-Aid and go up Payson Canyon and have a picnic and spend the day up there, or spend a few hours up there, and then we'd come home and milk the cows and get ready and go to church at 7 o'clock. A special day on Sunday, Belva and Ash, her husband, they would bring a big, had to be 2.5 gallon container of ice cream, bring it down, and we'd have all the ice cream we wanted.
What was school like? Did you have a favorite subject, or?
I guess it was home economics. I liked cooking and sewing, and I wasn't real good on math and English, but enough I could get through school.
What was a typical meal like growing up?
Potatoes, and gravy, and some kind of meat. Didn't very often have steaks, but we had roasts and hamburger and vegetables and salad and a dessert. I had a hard time with chickens. I mean, I loved chickens. But on Sunday when we were going to have a chicken dinner, we'd come home from church and Mom would say, go get a chicken so we can have dinner. And my dear sister Marie would go out and get a live chicken and the hatchet and take it over to a log and chop the chicken's head off. And then we would put it in some boiling water and take the feathers off and clean it off, and then Mother would cook chicken and we'd have chicken for dinner.
What was your favorite food growing up?
Potatoes and gravy.
It was gravy, favorite.
It's still my favorite food, I think.
And as you got older and started working, what type of jobs did you have?
While I was a teenager, we would go out we'd be picked up about 4 o'clock in the morning and get in this truck and ride around the mountain to Genola, a little town where they were raising fruit trees, and we'd go pick cherries. We got paid 2 cents a pound to pick cherries, and that's how we earned our summer money. And later on we picked corn. That's before they got the machines that picked the corn. We just hand picked them. And then after I got out of school, I think my first job I had was at Sweets Candy Company. And I would weigh out the candy and put them in bags for them to sell. And then I went to work for the telephone company, and I worked there for a few years. And then I went to work for the Relief Society building at the Relief Society office and mailed out Relief Society magazines. And then after that I got married. I went to school at Logan for 1 year. Through the 4-H, I had won a scholarship. My mother in the meantime had cancer and had to have surgery, and so my dad couldn't afford to send me back, so I came to Salt Lake and lived with Belva, and I got a job at the candy company. And while I was working there, had some girlfriends, and they would go out to Dugway or Hillfield on the buses that they would send in, and we would ride out there and meet these guys and dance with them and have an evening, and then we'd get on the bus and come back to Salt Lake. Sid was the bus driver, and I got acquainted with him, and we went out a few times, but he went home, and he still called me and asked me to marry him, and I decided that I would. So Lois made arrangements for me to have a wedding shower, and so I had all these wedding things, and I gathered them up and went to New York, and we had the branch president from Schenectady to come up to Glens Falls, where we lived, and marry us. And the only people that was there was the aunt that lived in the house and his mother and father.
And how are you received by Dad's family, being from Utah?
Not very well. They didn't show me any love. The members of the church did, and there was about 6 people that were the members of the church, and we we did have our small meetings on Sunday, and Sid would take me to church, and then he'd said, I'll come back in an hour or so and pick you up, and lived there 7 years. And Jeff was born 2 days before Christmas, and so I spent Christmas in the hospital. Then a couple of years later, Rosemary was born, and Sid was really good with the kids, playing with them a little bit. Rosemary would come and mess up his hair, and of course his hair was combed just so, and Rosemary could mess it up, but nobody else, I couldn't even touch it. When I went to work at Sears, then it was then that Fern was born, and so I quit working there and stayed home with my kids. But during this summer, it was just very nice. We could go walk into the woods because we were right into the edge of the woods. But we had a place, we had a little garden, and during the summer, Sid said, "Come here." And I walked over to him, and he lifted up a lid that was off of a great big 50-gallon drum. He lifted the lid up, and in there was coiled, I don't know how many big black snakes. So you know they were very plentiful around there. And the year that New York had the World's Fair, Fern, the youngest, was a year old, and Mother and Dad and Lois and her two girls, Sandra and Judy, came to New York to visit. And Lois took the girls and went down to the World's Fair, or whatever they called it. And Mother and Dad stayed with me there at the farm. We did move to Utah then, and we lived in Murray for a few years. And while we lived in Murray, James was born soon after we got here. We decided we weren't going to have any more kids, and one of the prophets talked in conference and said that we shouldn't refuse to have kids, and so we got Rodney a little more than a year later. And then we took time and then had Shauna and then Audrey, and then later Sam. And we could talk about Sam's birth, but he was a big boy and, what, 12 pounds. And so we decided that was enough. Well, we finally went to the hospital to get Sam, and I was having labor pains, and after, I don't know how long it was a long time, I quit having labor pains, and it was too late to do a C-section, so the doctor was getting a little panicky, and the nurse got up on the bed with me and with her hands and was pushing on my stomach and pushed and pushed and pushed and working him out, and finally he did pop out. It's like popping out a pimple, and he weighed 12 pounds, and he was in the hospital with in the nursery with a baby that weighed 6 pounds, and they had him there, the two babies, for a long time. But I never seen Sam. He was born on Friday, and I did not see him till Sunday. So Sunday they said I could go home, but Sam was going up to the University Hospital. Sunday night I wanted to go see him, and Sid wouldn't take me up. Then I said, well, I'll have Peggy Dunn take me up there. And he said, "Oh, never mind, I'll take you out there." After that, when we finally got him into diapers, and he was walking every place in his diapers. If he could get out the door, he was outside. Of course, this was summertime. And he would go out and play outside, or the neighbors would say, "Sam's out here over in my yard." So I'd go get him and bring him home and put some clothes on him. But he was seen out a lot more outside in his white diapers and nothing else. But he's grown up and he has more clothes on now, and he's a handsome guy, like all the rest. All of the rest of my kids were raised with cloth diapers. Had to wash them out and put them back on, and he's the only one that had disposable diapers. He took full advantage of it and spent his time in diapers. And Fern and Rose got very good at changing the diapers too, so they knew he was in white diapers. And he loved them, taking care of him, being a baby, you know. But he's not a spoiled baby. He's fantastic. He's as fantastic as all the rest of them. And they are all fantastic in their work and in what they do for other people too, especially me. And so we were there in Murray for about 12 years, and then we moved out to West Valley, where I live now.
So shortly after Sam's birth, you and Dad were divorced. How long were you guys married?
20 years.
20 years? And then divorced after that?
Yeah, divorced within weeks almost after the 20 years.
And so you raised all of us 8 kids. Looking back, if you could relive any part of your life, what would it be?
When I was having my kids, because they have been the joy of my life then, and they are now, today. I just wouldn't want to be here if I didn't have them. We were watching television one night. The television kept changing channels. Don't know what was the matter with it, and Audrey'd get up and she couldn't find the remote. She'd get up and change it and watch for a couple minutes, and then it'd go back to another station. And we couldn't figure out why it was doing that. And after probably a half hour, 45 minutes, finally Sam and Jason, the neighbor boy, came in and had the remote. They were sitting out in the tree flipping the remote.
Okay. Besides having your children, what was your proudest moment? Otherwise, you'd always say having kids. What was your proudest moment besides?
I can't say that enough, though.
Your kids. What is your proudest moment?
When I was doing my achieving things in 4-H. I loved doing 4-H. I even wanted to start 4-H programs here after I got settled here in West Valley. So I just tried to do things that I could help other people. When we were kids, Lois and Belva were married and lived in Salt Lake, and they would come down for Father's Day or Dad's birthday, and they was always bringing a big box of chocolates. Well, it was almost Enid's birthday, And they said, Enid, what do you want for your birthday? And she says, I want a box of chocolates. And I thought, oh, that sounds good. And so they brought her, for her birthday, they brought her a big box of chocolates. So my birthday's after Enid's, and they asked me what I wanted for my birthday. I wanted to say a box of chocolates so bad. I said, oh, I don't know anything. And as my kids would probably tell you, I still say that. Because I cannot ask people to give me things. I will ask them to help me do something, but I can't ask them to give me things for my birthday or Christmas or anything. So after I got settled in Murray for a while, I got into some chocolate dipping and candy making, and I got into making chocolates and candy bars and all kinds of candy that I thoroughly enjoyed making and eating and making for my kids. When they were building the Jordan River Temple, I had gotten candy and I'd sell it to the neighbor kids, and they'd come to the back door and we'd have it sitting on the counter, and they'd buy some candy and save it or save the money and turn it into the building fund. It was a fun experience because the kids all knew what it was for. And I got into cake decorating so as I could decorate their birthday cakes. That was fun. I enjoyed it. And even doing wedding cakes, so I'd make them for somebody else. And I enjoyed it, but it was a lot of work. I felt really good about doing it. And I still do birthday cakes if I'm asked to do it. After I was married for a while, I went to work at a manufacturing plant where they sewed clothes. And I was hired because of my sewing, that I could do anything, and I hemmed the sleeves on blouses. Then after that, I had another job at Sears doing alterations in the men's department. My daughter-in-law asked me if I wanted to work at the school, help the teachers, and so I said yes, and I enjoyed that. I think that was my favorite job. When I've had bad things, like going through divorce and the death of a couple of grandkids, it just breaks my heart. And I want to do things to help other people. And it's been really hard, and it's hard right now to talk about it because I love them dearly. To get over that, I have to find something to do for somebody else that makes me feel good. I have a friend that, with the help of my daughter-in-law and my daughter and my niece, I was able to make a quilt and give to her because she was very dear to me, this friend. Because we raised our boys together, basically, and she's incapable of doing those things now. Tried to teach my kids to be honest. I know one particular time we was stopped to get gas, and it's right when the gas was going up in price. So when I got what, $14 worth of gas, and I gave James a $20 bill to go in and pay for it. He brought back $14, and I says, no, it went over. I says went past the $10, and so he took it back in and it showed him that I wanted to be honest, and I could have gone off with not doing that, and James would never have known any difference, but I think it was an impression on him that he knew that, and I'm sure the other kids in the car knew it too.
So, Mom, it's obvious that you've been through some hard times. What have you learned about yourself?
Well, one particular thing that I can explain is when we went to the temple I went to the bishop to get our temple recommends, and my husband told the bishop that he couldn't get his recommend because he wasn't worthy. And I had a feeling that he was going to have to say this, and that was hard. And afterwards I had talked to the bishop, and he had to go through the excommunication part. And I said I'd stand behind him, but he didn't want me to, so rather than go into the details of that, he left. And I told the bishop, I don't know what I can do. I can't make it. I can't do this on my own. And he said, yes, you can. He said, you're strong and you can do it, and you've got the kids there to help you. And so I just turned all my worries about doing for my kids and trying to help them through the things that they have to go through of their dad leaving and not wanting to do for them, which he didn't do a lot for them when he was there. But it hurt me to see them have to go through that, and the things that they've been through of not having him here. And I think they're to the point where, oh well, we're better off. And I feel like I'm better off, and I have some fantastic son-in-laws and daughter-in-laws that have just built me up to probably more than I deserve. But they've just been fantastic, and especially Fern, just been the bulwark that has kept me going, and I just don't know what I'd do without any of them, because they've been, they are such special kids. They do the things to their kids that I wanted to do with mine, build things and do things with them, and that I had tried to be there and do things, but so they're there doing it for me.
What has Fern contributed to your life?
She is such a good mother and good grandmother that she does things with her kids that I wanted to do. I've had a hard time telling her how much I've appreciated what she's done for me. And it's the same with Jeff. He comes and does my yard work, and she's tried to get everybody to help, and Jeff says, oh, I can mow the lawn, no big deal. And the others have come and done things too. I can't name all of them, but all of the things that they've done for me that I've wanted to do for them. But I just can't say enough. And when I worked in the temple and I would say the things that I had to say to people, I would think to myself, oh, thank you for my posterity. They're all I have, and that's what I want and I need. And I would do that every time, not just once in a while. Well, I have a testimony. I've had it proven to me many times. Many times. I know that Joseph Smith is a prophet and a restorer through which the church is on the earth today. I've known that not just from what I've heard of other testimonies and that, but in my heart I know, and I haven't read a lot, I haven't read as much as I should, but in my heart I know that it's true. I know that the prophets down the church have been so true, and I know that they're doing the Lord's work, and that we all need to do what we can do, especially in our families. We need to show the love and that we have. I can name every one of my grandkids that have shown me love, and that's what's important. Melissa calls me, she's my soulmate, and she's one of my many my grandchildren that are my favorites. They're all my favorites. Don't matter which one, they're all my favorites from Tara, the first one, and who was the last one? Lily?
Yeah.
Lily's the last grandchild, and every one of them is my favorites. I hope that they will stay strong and keep on doing. My mother asked me to make sure we kept having Thanksgiving and having the families together. So we tried, and I have to hand it down to the grandchildren and my children and the grandchildren to keep doing that, and to have our family camp out to get together and keep close. And I just can't say how much I love them. And lately I've had an experience with some of my granddaughters to have dinner with them and spend 2 or 3 days with them, and that was just so much fun. And then I had a grandson stop by Wednesday, and he took me to do some errands and went to dinner together. And then last night a granddaughter stopped in with her baby, and it's just been fun to do it individually with these kids. And I've had some of them come over and get some stamps and stamp pads that they can use and enjoy, and I just want to get together with each one of them and as groups, because it just my life is my kids. Are we on?
Yeah. We've been on.
Oh. I thought he was turned off.